Y'all, we are back. Still a little sick, like I was in last week's video, so bear with me there on that one for sure. But we are back with another 7 round mock draft, and it is 2.0, the only team that I do more than one 7 round mock draft video for a draft cycle, my Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the second installment of three of 7 round mock drafts for the Steelers. Usually I always follow it up after my second first round 1.0. So that's how we're doing it this week since we did that last week. So let's get over here. This is going to be a little different than the first one. We won't have to look at any PFF grades really, or we won't look at any PFF grades at all actually. But we will get a little roster update post free agency before heading into the draft. OurLads.com. Shout out to them. Got to give them a shout out every single time. We're over here. The website that I do use the depth charts for the videos. So starting up in the wide receiver room, looking a little different. Obviously, no Mike Williams, no Van Jefferson. For starters there. From last year, who were free agents. I think whenever Van went to the Titans, Mike Williams actually went back to the Chargers. Interesting move there. But we did trade our second round pick number 52, which I was going to mention at some point. I'll probably mention again in this video, to the Seattle Seahawks for DK Metcalf. Kind of making a big dynamic duo between him and George Pickens on the outside. We're going to have Calvin Austin over there in the slot. And then after that, we only have Scotty Miller, Roman Wilson, Ben Skoranek, and then, Lance McCutcheon and Brandon Johnson, who I've never even heard of, to be honest. So I do still think that there is a need for some depth there at the wide receiver position. I know we used our third round pick on Roman Wilson last year. Ben Skoranek really there just kind of block. Scotty Miller's just kind of followed Arthur Smith around to an extent. We actually cut him last year, so I was surprised when we did end up sign him. I guess technically re-signing him there, about a few days ago in free agency, or maybe a week or two ago now. But Roman Wilson is going to be interesting to see what he does. But I do think wide receiver depth is in the cards for the draft right now. Going over to the offensive line, the starting five still looking the same as I expected it to be after I think from last video. We lost James Daniels. He went to Miami. Dan Moore went to Tennessee as well as Van Jefferson did, like I mentioned earlier. But our starting tackles are going to be Broderick, our first round pick in 2023, and Troy Fautanu, our first round pick last year, who did look pretty decent before he got hurt. Broderick, big question mark for me right now. Our guards, Isaac Seumalo, Mason McCormick, that's really what we saw last year. And then Zach Frazier, our second round pick out of West Virginia last year as well at center, who had a great rookie season. Still not a ton of depth, in my opinion. We do have a backup at every position listed: Dylan Cook, Spencer Anderson, Ryan McCollum, Stephen Jones, and Doug Nestor. Really not confident in any of those guys, being in the line if somebody was to go down for an extended period of time. Maybe Spencer Anderson, if that, maybe Ryan McCollum. Other three guys, nah, never even really heard of Doug Nestor and Stephen Jones. So not too confident with the offensive line depth right now as well. Going down to tight end, I think we're definitely fine there. We've got Pat Darnell, Connor Hayward, and we also went and got Donald Parham Jr., former Charger. Um, Quarterbacks, yeah. I kind of went on a rant last week about this already, so I'm really not going to get into it too much. We signed Mason Rudolph, we signed Skylar Thompson. That's our quarterback room right now. That is pitiful. Right now, I am kind of under the impression that Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Steelers. I don't know if it's a given, but I do think it's definitely possible. I would probably say it's probably got the highest odds of him to go anywhere right now. So I think if it is Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers, obviously he's the starter week one. And that would be our quarterback room right there with the two that you see on the screen: Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, and Aaron Rodgers. Maybe you draft somebody and you cut Skylar Thompson. I'm not sure. Maybe you just rock four quarterbacks on the roster. Then running backs, little underwhelming right now. We lost Najee Harris to the Chargers. We did get Jalen Warren back on a 1 year contract, and then we went and got Kenneth Gainwell. Again, that's something I went on a rant on last week's video. If you want to hear me rant about that, go watch last week's full first round mock, skip to the Steelers pick, and you can hear me talk about it. Um, and then we've got the lunch lady, as my friend calls him, Cordell Patterson, in there as well with Jonathan Ward, Aaron Shamplin, and Evan Hull. Um, so yeah, offense right now to me decently underwhelming. Then on the defense side of the ball, really a lot of the same names. We did lose some guys here and there, mainly in that cornerback room. But front seven wise, we've got Keanu Benton and Cameron Hayward on the interior. Not a ton of depth there. So I do think IDL is a need. And then we've got Isaiah Loudermilk as well, Dean Lowry, pretty underwhelming. Edge rusher wise, we got TJ Watt, Nick Herbig, Alex Highsmith. Obviously, those three guys are very, very talented, very, very good. But all three of those guys have been dealt with injuries over the past 2 seasons as well. So I would say, maybe edge depth is a thing. Maybe we take an edge rusher later in the draft. And then we got Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, Cole Holcomb, and we signed Malik Harrison as well. Mark Robinson's done pretty well on run packages, but that's really it. So I think we're fine in that interior linebacker room, which was a worry for me. That was a worry for me going into free agency and into this offseason, what we are going to do there. And then we got the secondary. I think we might be fine at safety now. I was talking about safety depth, as a need potentially, maybe a safety straight up as a need. Deshaun Elliott, Minkah, and then we also just went and got Juan Thornhill, former Cleveland Brown, and I think Kansas City Chief as well. We got Miles Killebrew in there. Really he's a special teams guy, and then we've got Ryan Watts, who's our sixth round pick last year out of Michigan State, who I don't think played at all. And then the corner room, very underwhelming. We went and got Darius Slay and Brandon Eccles. Darius Slay, that's fine. 1 year deal, whatever. But Brandon Eccles, man, just I just don't know how confident I feel going into the year with Brandon Eccles as our starting as a starting corner for us. I just don't know if I like that. Joey Porter Jr. definitely needs to step it up a little bit from last year. And then gosh, I just don't want to see James Pierre play football again. Please, man. I've seen him play for too many years now. He's just not good. And then we also have Beanie Bishop, who showed some flashes there, but overall not amazing. Corey Trice Jr. Maybe if we don't line him up on Jamar Chase in Week 18, maybe he'd look a lot better. So I will go back over here to the mock draft simulator. Get into it. Our picks now stand as 6 picks. We have 21, 83, 123, 156, 185, and 229. My needs list currently for the Steelers is the following: quarterback, wide receiver depth, O line depth, IDL, corner, and then secondary depth in general, whether that's a safety or a corner. So I'm going to run 3 of these today, and I'm going to try to experiment something in all 3 of these. The first one is going to be the IDL draft, based off how this board is. Yeah. This is going to be the IDL draft. So the interior defensive line draft, which is right now kind of what I'm leaning towards us going. Currently, I think you would look at definitely these 3 guys right here: Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan, Kenneth Grant. If you've been around the channel so far for my few videos, you know I'm not as big on Derek Harmon as most people, so he's automatically out for me there. And I do have Walter Nolan ranked over Kenneth Grant, so I would say Walter Nolan would be my pick here at 21. However, I would be fine with Kenneth Grant as well. And Walter Nolan is actually the pick I had in my full first round mock last week, for us at 21 as well. So after that, I think in the second round, I think if you go IDL first round, and the think in the sorry, not the second round, my bad, the third round, I think you have to look corner. I think there's potential that there's probably not a lot of corners left on the board here that are great. And that is the case. I think Jacob Parrish maybe is the move, but he's more of just like a nickel guy, a slot corner, 5'10", 198, speedy, physical guy. I think he could fit the mold of what we would want. But I just don't know if I would go. I don't know if I would go Jacob Parrish here. I think I would prefer Kobe Bryant over Jacob Parrish, the cornerback out of Kansas, 6'1", 175. Um, mm, I think you could maybe look other options here. What quarterbacks on the board? Jackson Dart's still going to be here. They still have him ranked very low on this PFF big board, and I just think he's definitely going to go higher than that. Supposedly, we've been interested in Jalen Milrow. Just I can't justify that. Besides that, looking at safeties, Kevin Winston Jr. being here, Andrew McCuba being here are both interesting for sure. Looking at receivers, I do like Jalen Royals and Tez Johnson a little bit. But I think I'd probably pass on both of those just because I think there's value in receiver down the board. So I do think I'm gonna probably reach a little bit here at corner, but I'm gonna go Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State at 83. Definitely a little bit of a reach there, but I think it's got to be the pick there. Then I think at 123 and 156, I think you're looking quarterback receiver. Now that you went corner and IDL, this is more realistic, this board here. I'm not too big of a Riley Leonard fan, not too big of a Quinn Ewers fan. I think Kyle McCord would probably be my pick here, if anything, um, over Dylan Gabriel. I think you can wait on that though. So that would be, then we'd slide over to wide receiver. Pat Bryant's interesting. I feel like he's somebody that Arthur Smith would love. 6'3", 200, just big bodied wide receiver. Um, you know what? I think that makes sense for Arthur Smith. That would be an Arthur Smith, Mike Tomlin pick right there. Pat Bryant, the wide receiver out of Illinois at 123. Why not? Then I'm definitely looking quarterback here. Kyle McCord still on the board. If he wasn't, I'd went Tyler Shuck instead. But we are going to go with Kyle McCord there at 156. Then at 185, I think 185, 229, you're kind of just like up in the air. You've got a wide receiver, you've got a quarterback, you've got an IDL, and you've got a corner. So I think you could look secondary in general, with who's there at safety and at corner. I think you could potentially look, yeah, corners not too impressed. Jabbar Muhammad would be somebody maybe I look at 229, but not here at 185. No, I do like RJ Mickens a little bit, but again, a guy that you'd probably look more at 229 than 185. I think now the options are as offensive tackle slash guard, anything offensive line wise, maybe a depth piece. Jonah Mohim's interesting. Dylan Fairchild's interesting. I actually don't mind Dylan Fairchild that much. Better pass blocker than a run blocker. Jake Majors, I liked when I was watching stuff. His pass block was pretty well. His run block was not great. So that's the only thing I do think about those two guys that doesn't add up to the system with the Steelers. But I would be interested in Jake Majors. I wonder if he could play guard. Doesn't really have a summary about him. 6'3", 315. I don't know if he could play guard. I know Jonah Monheim could play guard. Just not super impressed by him. Um, man, I this is a tough pick. I The other thing that I didn't mention need wise that I definitely don't think is out of the cards is a running back. Kind of more of like a power back potentially. Ollie Gordon kind of makes sense with that. He's just another guy though that I don't think you would take this early. And that's what I'm struggling with. What is Kyle? What is his like? Yeah, I thought he was smaller. Man, this is a tough pick. I'm sorry I'm taking forever on this one, guys. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go Dylan Fairchild. I'm gonna go Dylan Fairchild for some depth on the offensive line. And then next pick, I think you're looking. I think you're looking like secondary depth or running back. Um, if Ollie Gordon's still there, there's a Rondé Gadsden. Um, No Ollie Gordon still here. I think if that's the case, then I think I'm gonna go take my guy Jabbar Muhammad out of Oregon. Jordan Hancock's there. I actually don't mind Jordan Hancock that much. He's not great, but I don't mind him here. I actually am gonna do that. Ooh, Dante Trader Jr. Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't think his coverage grade was great though. I am gonna take. Where'd he go? I'm gonna take Jordan Hancock, the safety out of Ohio State here at pick 229. So that is the first mock draft here. That's gonna be the IDL mock where you just kind of stick there and pick Walter Nolan or maybe Kenneth Grant, Derek Carmer, like I mentioned earlier. So we're gonna get Walter Nolan, Jacob Parrish, Pat Bryant, Kyle McCord, Dylan Fairchild, Jordan Hancock. PFF does not like that mock from me. I will say that's not my favorite one. It's not my favorite one there, but not all of them are going to be great. So let's run this back here. This time, now this is very interesting. because I wanted to mess around with this a little bit and I didn't do it. But I think I'm going to do it right here. So the other mock, this next one was going to be a corner mock where I trade back and take a corner unless Will Johnson or Jade Barron was somehow here. And neither of them are. So I'm going to do something interesting here. We're going to make a trade, and this is not going to be a trade back, like I just mentioned. It's actually going to be a trade with, let's see, who do I want to trade with? This is going to be a trade with the Indianapolis Colts. Where are they at, though? Right here, pick 45. We're going to trade for pick 45, and we're going to send the Indianapolis Colts. Wow, really not accepted? Okay. All right, how about this? We're going to take 45 and a future fifth for Minkah and a third and a fourth next year. Does that work? Oh, no. Okay. All right, we're going to go back to the original thought process here. They're saying I think we could get at least a second for Minkah. So I'm gonna stick with the original trade. I'm gonna force it. I know I don't like forcing trades on these mock draft videos, but that's how we're gonna do this. This is something I ran into the other night. Minkah Fitzpatrick is owed a lot of money, and he did not play great last year. Now I know he's played injured the past few years, and besides last year, he's played fine. But I just am not super sold on Minkah improving more than he already has. I think if anything, he is on a you know uh decreasing slope production wise. And he's owed a lot of money, and we need some money to do something with this team. So we're going to trade Minkah Fitzpatrick to a team that I do think needs a safety, which is the Indianapolis Colts, for pick 45. So we get a second rounder back. So we essentially traded Minkah Fitzpatrick for DK Metcalf in that scenario. We're going to take Malachi Starks here at 21 to fill that spot. And this gets us an extra pick in this draft that we didn't have going into it, at least. Obviously, originally we had, 52 that we did trade. And this puts us in a very good position to get a good player. So I think this could be a Jackson Dart spot. I'm not going to mess around with him right now, though. I'm not going to mess around with Jackson Dart right now, though. I think this could be a very good wide receiver spot, and I do like Jalen Noel and Trey Harris. I think this could be a corner spot, considering Trey Amos, Maxwell Harrison, and Savon Revel and Darian Porter are all still on the board, which I like all four of those guys. Or I do think this could be an IDL spot because there's probably going to be some guys like Alfred Collins that I like still here. Yes, Alfred Collins is still here. They put Vernon Broughton on the board. Vernon Broughton, I want to say something about him real quick. Vernon Broughton is a guy that I came across while watching Alfred Collins that I really, really liked. And I'm glad they finally put him on the board. Wow, yeah. Great year from Vernon Broughton. I'm glad they finally put him here. I do think IDL could be in play here. I think Jackson Dart could be in play here, but I do want to get a receiver. I know. I just don't. I think it would be relatively kind of dumb to draft Trey Harris or Jalen Noel here. Just because I don't think they would, man, even though I really like them. I like Maxwell Harrison. I like Trey Amos. I'm gonna take Trey Amos here at 45. Beef up that cornerback room. Um, yeah. Learned a little bit from Darius Slay. Vernon Broughton still here. Let's go. I gotta take him. I have to take Vernon Broughton. Let's go. Pick 83 Vernon Broughton because I was just raving about him. We need IDL. Let's take him. And we're really been focusing on the defense here. Will Howard is sitting here, and I do think if we go IDL corner and we went safety because we traded Minkah, I think Will Howard has to be the pick here. This is definitely, I like this draft already a lot more than the last one. So I think now we have 3 picks left. I think you draft an offensive lineman. I'm not sure where. I think you draft a wide receiver. And I think you draft a running back potentially. Um, Trevor Etienne is here. Ah, my guy Tyler Cooper. My guy Tyler Cooper. Tyler Cooper is a day three interior offensive lineman that I like out of Minnesota. I'm going to take him as depth instead of Trevor Etienne. Trevor Etienne is not here anymore. Um, Kind of faced with the same decision we had to do last draft. I'm just going to go Ollie Gordon third. And we have not taken a receiver yet, correct? Starks, Amos, Vernon Broughton, Will Howard, Tyler Cooper, and Ollie Gordon. And we are going to go with a wide receiver because we have not taken one yet this draft. And I'm going to take my guy, Zachary Franklin out of Illinois. If you've been here before, you do know that I'm a fan of Zachary Franklin out of Illinois as a day three receiver. And there's usually a day three receiver or corner every year. If you're new here, there's like a day three corner receiver every year that I just like am super in love with. And I'm just like, man, this guy kid has really good potential to be good. And they never end up being good. Now, that is not necessarily true all the time. I have hit Demario Douglas for the Patriots, a guy that I was really high on. Um, so yeah, I like that draft a lot. I definitely like that draft more than the first one. Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia, after we trade Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Indianapolis Colts for pick 45, in which with pick 45 we take Trey Amos, pick 83 we take my guy Vernon Broughton, pick 123 we take Will Howard, pick 156 we take Tyler Cooper, pick 185 we take Ollie Gordon, and pick 229 we take Zachary Franklin. We're going to run one more. And this, of course, if you didn't realize where I'm going with this one, the third installment here, this is the quarterback draft. This is the quarterback draft. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward will be gone at this point due to the PFF simulator. Oh my gosh, is Shedeur not gone? Shedeur Sanders is not gone. So he's definitely going to be the pick here. I was just going to take Jackson Dart. But this is the QB. This is the QB 7 round mock right here. And we're going to take Shedeur Sanders at pick 21. Oh man, I would be very worried about that. I will say. Jalen Noel is still here. Johnny Savai, Naya, and Wyatt Milam are both still here, and Cameron Williams. There's a lot of good players left right here, right now. I do think, though, I feel like you just have to look corner here, but I'm just not too high on any of these guys. Kobe Bryant and Jacob Parrish are fine for me. Zy Alexander's fine for me. Um, so I think I'm just going to wait on corner for now. Joshua Farmer's interesting. I know this is a guy that Daniel Jeremiah is very high on. I'm not too big on him. Definitely guys that are ranked under him that I like more. RJ Harvey is here too. He's a guy that I like a lot. However, I just don't think we need him. He's a Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. I feel like we'd have three of the same exact running backs in the running back room at that point if we were to draft him. Jalen Noel being here though, really good talent out of Iowa State, wide receiver. We're going to take him here at 83 just because I feel like he's too good to pass up on there. And we don't have to go Will Howard here because we already took a quarterback. So I do think we can pivot there, go somewhere else. Offensive line could be in play here. Willie Lampkin is here. He's a guy that I don't mind too much. Um, Zy Alexander is still here, the cornerback out of LSU. Pretty decent coverage grade this year. I'm actually going to take him instead since he is still here. So that's going to put us at pick 156 with a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a corner. So I definitely think you need to look IDL here. I think that's a definite need at this point through the draft so far. Really not a lot of guys that I like. The two guys I like the most out of this room that's left here, honestly, is Howard Cross and Thor Griffith. And I know that it's going to look like a reach, but I think I would rather Thor Griffith and Howard Cross. But I am going to take Howard Cross the third out of Notre Dame. It looks like a reach per PFF ranking per pick number, but I like it a lot. At pick 185, we've got a quarterback, a wide receiver, a corner, and a defensive lineman. I think you could look running back, offensive line here. Not a lot of guys, besides Ollie Gordon that I think really makes sense. Emory Jones Jr. is here. He's a guy that I did take in one of the drafts, one of the first 7 round mock drafts of the Steelers. Dylan Fairchild's here again. You know what? Just to mix it up a little bit, make it different, we're going to take Emory Jones Jr., the tackle out of LSU, just for some offensive line depth. And then pick at 229, we can kind of go anywhere. We can go safety, we can go corner again, we could go running back. And just kind of look in BPA really. Uh, I don't mind Smile Monday or Jalen Walker. Those are probably my two favorite guys left on the board here, with some of the receivers, but we don't ever take another receiver again. Maybe Jordan Hancock again. Due to the first draft. What running backs are left? I am interested in what running backs are left. Quentin Jackson, Rocket Sanders would be interesting. He's kind of a power back. You know what? Let's do it. We're gonna take Rocket Sanders, Raheem Sanders, a running back out of South Carolina, former Arkansas Razorback as well. And that is our third and final Pittsburgh Steelers 7 round mock draft of the video. Steelers mock draft 7.0. And we go with Shador Sanders, Jalen Noel, Zy Alexander, Howard Cross III, Emory Jones Jr., and Rocket Raheem Sanders out of South Carolina. That is the video. Really short today. Kind of ran through it. But yeah, that's the 7 round mock draft for my Pittsburgh Steelers. I hope you guys enjoyed. That is 2.0 out of 3. We'll have one about probably 2 weeks out from the draft. Very interesting video. Very fun time. And I hope y'all enjoyed it. And I appreciate all the love and support on the video last week. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.